We're back with Arkansas head coach Brett Bielema. Had a really nice chat with him the other day. We did fine him for being late to our conversation. And Coach, with those shoes you had on, I can understand. I can't understand why you didn't move a little quicker. Those were among the talks of media days.
It was. Wasn't for lack of effort, I guarantee, Paul. I was trying to get your show. If there's one show I want to be on time for, it's yours.
Well, thank you very much. We saw Coach Mullen earlier today. He certainly trailblazing with the shoe. Yeah, I mean, did you decide to go traditional today?
Yeah, I was a little traditional. I figured the SEC media and the coaches are out here. We better sharpen up a little bit. Plus, the wife vetoed any idea of tennis shoes, so I stand here as a guy that's wearing conventional shoes.
I had a great chat with both you and Mrs. Bielema down in Destin, and I have to ask you. I mean, some coaches actually. I saw Saban yesterday. He told me his wife suggested his coat. Does she tell you what to wear? I mean, I know she tells you pretty much everything else.
No, we kind of come to some joint decisions. This wasn't the tie she picked, so I'm probably going to come home to a mad one on that one. But we thought we needed to bring out a little yellow with a couple vibrant colors of the conference rather than just going to traditional pig suey red. But it's a joint decision in everything we make in that house. And one of the true benefits of moving to Arkansas is her and I getting to do this whole thing together. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I bet you have a couple of red ties in your
a couple in the closet.
Let's talk football, and I realize we have been speaking of it for the last week or so, but we are finally getting closer. And today, as you've made the rounds, I'm sure you've gotten the sense that Arkansas is clearly on the radar screen right now in the SEC.
You know what? I appreciate that. I get it. You know, we finished with 3 out of 4 wins, and to play the way we did against Texas, and you know that's a big deal. I get it, but on the same account, you know, we've won 7 games last year, 3 games the year before. We haven't won a conference road game. There are so many things that this team has to accomplish. We have a goal to get to Atlanta every year, and you know, when that day comes, it's going to be one I'll be, you know, standing on top of the mountain, yelling and screaming. But we're just working every day. I think our guys have a great approach to what's going on and respect for what they're doing. I don't see this group getting a big head, you know, thinking they're King Kong. But I do see a group that's ready to play and can't wait for that first game.
Yeah, it's interesting because you did win 2 games last year, but if you showed up from Mars, you would have thought Arkansas was in the national championship contention. I mean, I understand the end of the season was phenomenal. Yep. Is that all you focus on? Because certainly what happened before that was close calls. At the end, you finally finished the job.
No, I tend to, you know, as a head coach, I think it's always better to go back and address the things you didn't do well. And obviously, we played well in those games, but a lot of learning out there from games that we got to play again this year. And we got to play Alabama, Mississippi State, 2 close ones we lost back-to-back. Playing A&M again early on. New game with Tennessee we're excited about, but lost a heartbreaker to Missouri at the end. And, you know, this group has had to learn some things through fire. They had to get burned up a little bit. Scars, to me, are a good thing at times if you learn from them. So I'm very excited where they're at. By no means is this group happy with where they're at, you know, and everybody's going to give them a pat on the back. I think it's just because it was so bad. You know, Paul, obviously it ended badly for the last couple coaches here, and to build up some positive mojo was something I think our kids and our fan base needed.
And what are realistic goals? I know you mentioned Atlanta a minute ago, but certainly you can have a successful season without getting there. Is that correct?
100%. I just think I've learned in life, if you're not setting the goals high enough, you're going to underachieve, and that's not something I want to have next to my name. And the thing I had an interesting question at SEC Media Day. Somebody said, Coach, you've been through 2 years of some disappointments. What's the biggest disappointment? And I said, without a doubt, to have a senior leave your program that you know in their own heart and what we've seen them, they're a champion, and to not give them that title at least a year in their career because their window runs out. You know, got 4 years of eligibility, and when that's done, that's done. And to not give a kid who truly is of championship caliber a chance to be a champion in the SEC is disappointing to me. So this senior class has battled through a lot. They were recruited by someone other than me. I got a couple junior college kids in this class, but otherwise these kids came to Arkansas not even knowing who Brett Bielema is. And to give them a chance in every ball game to have success means everything to me.
And not to go too deep in the past, but I mean, you begin your 3rd season, and when you got there, there were a lot of people raising questions. We all knew who you were,
right,
but we didn't understand why you were in Arkansas. How difficult was it at first to get your bearings and to set a template for what looks like to be a very successful run?
You know, it was easy but yet very complicated. I know those are two different extremes there, but I think one thing that I had at my last job that I didn't have here was I was a defense coordinator for 2 years before I became the head coach. And there's a lot to be said for understanding the environment that you're walking into by experiencing it yourself. The only way you're going to learn at a new place is to learn it daily, you know, and sometimes that can be a little misleading because you think one thing and the reality ends up being completely opposite. So to get through these first 2 years and to learn some things about the environment, to learn about our not only our conference, but you know, within our community, within the NCAA, but also within our academic administration and the facilities that we work under. It's just been a constant learning process. And the number one key that I know right now we're going to have success is our kids and our coaches are beginning to do things before we ask them to do it. And anytime that begins to happen, I think you're going to have success eventually because the plan is already there.
Coach, you had great success in the Big Ten. We all know about the string of Rose Bowl appearances. Now there are comparisons again between the SEC and the Big Ten because of Ohio State winning the title and obviously beating Alabama. Realizing that you don't spend a lot of time watching Big Ten football now, how would you compare and contrast the experiences, though, of coaching in both?
Well, they're obviously both great conferences. The Power 5 conferences represent that. I think the thing that's unique in the SEC, and no disrespect to a conference that I love and have held near and dear to my heart because I played there and coached there for so long, it's just anybody can get anybody on any given Saturday. And you see that in the bowl season and in the records. You know, when I was a first-year coach, 12-1, we beat Arkansas, who was highly ranked, and I felt great on that day. But the more I watched the film, I don't know how many times we would have been able to do that if we played 10 consecutive games against one of their. The Ohio State won a championship. Kudos to Urban and all that he did to make that happen. But I don't know if there's more than 1, 2, 3 teams in that league that can champion that moment or say those type of things. Whereas in this league, you know, it was brought to my attention last year, every conference game we played in was 8 straight games in a row where they're in the top 15. And in my previous job, I had faced, I believe, like 4 or 5 teams in a 3-year span that equaled that same ranking. So just a difference in week to week that's just mind-boggling to put your hands around.
Coach, finally, we've solicited Arkansas fans to get a chance to ask you a question on Twitter. We see you and your wife occasionally on Twitter. And this is from Sean talking about Wisconsin beat #1 Ohio State in 2010 and went on to 3 straight Big Ten titles. Do you feel like the Hogs are on the cusp of the same thing at Arkansas?
You know what? I think there's a lot of indicators, a lot of things that are similar. We're strong on the offensive line. We got a good, solid quarterback that I think has got good players around him at the receiver, tight end, and running back position. Defensively, we're beginning to understand the principles that make you great. You know, you tackle efficiently, you understand the game, and you play very, very, very hard. I don't know if our overall depth is there yet, but we're getting there day by day, and it's been one of the most enjoyable parts of my life to kind of be around it and build this thing from the bottom up.
Thanks for your time. Thanks for being
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Whoop pig.
You bet.